The medical scanner hummed softly in the sterile white room. Dr. Vax watched the display with 6 of his compound eyes, while the other 2 observed the unconscious creature strapped to the examination table. The human female lay perfectly still, her chest rising and falling in a slow rhythm that seemed almost peaceful. "Begin cardiovascular analysis," Dr. Vax clicked through his mandibles. His assistant, a young Krell named Pip, activated the deep tissue scanner. The results appeared on the holographic display, and every scientist in the room froze. The human's heart had stopped. "Emergency revival protocols!" Dr. Vax shrieked, his antenna flattening against his head in panic. "We've killed the specimen!" Pip's claws flew across the control panel, preparing the neural stimulator. But before he could activate it, the display changed again. The heart was beating. Strong and steady, Doc, then it stopped again. "What is happening?" Pip's voice trembled. "Is the scanner malfunctioning?" Dr. Vax moved closer to the table, all 8 eyes now focused on the human. Her name, according to the data recovered from her spacecraft, was Minji. She had been hauling cargo containers near the gas giant called Jupiter when their collection vessel had pulled her aboard. Standard procedure for first contact with a new species. Take 1 specimen, study it. Determine if the species poses a threat or offers value to the Galactic Collective. But nothing about this was standard. "The scanner is functioning perfectly," Dr. Vax said slowly. "Which means this is actually happening. Her heart stops and starts. Stops and starts. How is she alive?" Pip asked. That was the question that would change everything. Dr. Vax ordered a full cellular analysis during the next cardiac pause. The results made no sense. In the microsecond gaps between heartbeats, the human body was performing millions of operations. Cells were repairing damage. Neural pathways were reorganizing. Energy was being redistributed to different organ systems. It was as if the human body had 2 states of existence, the beating moments and the silent moments, and both were equally alive. "This is impossible," muttered Dr. Kresh, the station's chief medical officer. She was from the Vren species, tall and crystalline, her body chiming softly as she moved. Every known species in the galaxy has continuous cardiovascular function. The heart beats without interruption from birth to death. This creature's heart stops dozens of times per minute. 72 times per minute, to be exact, Dr. Vax corrected. 72 pauses. 72 moments of apparent death. Then why doesn't she die? Kresh demanded. Dr. Vax studied the data flowing across his screens. His scientific mind raced through possibilities, discarding each one as insufficient. Then he saw something in the quantum readings that made his blood run cold. "Time," he whispered. "What?" Pip leaned closer. "Look at the quantum signature during the cardiac pauses. The human cells are experiencing time differently. For us, those gaps last microseconds. But for her cells, they're lasting much longer. Time is moving at a different speed inside her body during those moments." The room fell silent except for the soft beeping of the monitors. "That's impossible," Kresh said. But her voice lacked conviction. "We've never encountered a species with discontinuous temporal experience," Dr. Vax said. "We assumed all consciousness exists in a single time stream. But humans don't. They live in 2 time streams simultaneously. The flow and the gaps. The sound and the silence." Overseer Tal entered the medical bay, his scaled body moving with military precision. He was Scar, a species bred for war, and he commanded the research vessel with an iron fist. "Report," he growled. Dr. Vax explained their findings. As he spoke, he watched Tal's expression shift from curiosity to something darker, something hungry. "So between each heartbeat, the human experiences time differently," Tal said slowly. And during these gaps, her body performs operations that would take other species much longer. Yes, but we don't understand why or how. I don't need to understand, Tal interrupted. I need to know if it can be weaponized. Dr. Vax felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Sir, this is a scientific discovery, not a military one. Everything is military, Tal said. If humans can process information and heal in temporal gaps that other species can't access, they could be the perfect soldiers. Imagine an army that thinks and acts in moments we can't perceive. We don't even know if this specimen is typical of her species, Dr. Vax protested. Then we'll need more specimens, Tal said. He turned to leave, then paused. And keep this one alive. We have tests to run. After Tal left, Dr. Vax returned his attention to Minji. She remained unconscious, her heart continuing its strange rhythm of beat and pause, beat and pause. Each gap was a small mystery. Each silence was a universe unto itself. Should we wake her? Pip asked. Dr. Vax considered. Standard protocol required keeping specimens sedated during initial studies. But standard protocol had never encountered a species like this. Not yet, he decided. First, I want to understand what happens in those gaps. Set up the temporal microscopy equipment. If her cells are experiencing time differently, we need to see it. For the next several hours, they worked in focused silence. The temporal microscope was a rare piece of equipment, usually reserved for studying quantum phenomena. It could observe events at scales where time itself became granular and strange. When they focused it on Minji's heart during the next pause, Dr. Vax saw something that would haunt his dreams, in the gap between heartbeats, which lasted less than a second in normal time. The microscope showed activity that should have taken minutes. Individual cells were communicating, adapting, evolving. Her immune system was cataloging every foreign substance in the air. Her neurons were forming new connections based on the environmental data her unconscious brain was still processing. In those silent moments, Minji was more alive than any creature Dr. Vax had ever studied. It's beautiful, Pip breathed. Dr. Vax had to agree. And terrifying. Because if one human could do this, what could billions of them do? What kind of species had they discovered? The scanner detected a change. Minji's brain activity was increasing. She was waking up. Increase the sedative, Dr. Vax ordered. But even as he said it, he felt a pang of guilt. What right did they have to keep her unconscious? What right did they have to study her like a specimen in a lab? But the decision was made. The sedative flowed through the intravenous line, and Minji's brain activity decreased again. Dr. Vax looked at her peaceful face and wondered what she would think when she finally woke up. Would she be afraid? Angry? Would she understand that she represented something the galaxy had never seen before? In the silence of the medical bay, Minji's heart beat once more, then stopped, then beat again, and in the gaps between those beats, time moved in ways that made Dr. Vax question everything he thought he knew about life, consciousness, and the nature of existence itself. The study of humanity had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. Minji woke up screaming. Her eyes snapped open to a white ceiling that curved in ways no ceiling should curve. The air tasted wrong, smelled wrong, felt wrong against her skin. She tried to sit up and found her wrists and ankles locked to a table with bands of blue light. The specimen is conscious, a voice said. It sounded like clicking mixed with words, mechanical and alien. Minji turned her head and saw them. Creatures that looked like giant insects, crystals that walked like people, things with scales and too many limbs. Her heart hammered in her chest as the reality crashed down on her. This wasn't a nightmare. This was real. Let me go, she shouted, pulling against the restraints. The blue light didn't budge. Please remain calm, the insect creature said, moving closer. "We do not wish to harm you. I am Dr. Vax. You are aboard a research vessel of the Galactic Collective. I don't care who you are." Minji yanked harder at the restraints. "You kidnapped me. This is illegal." "According to whose laws?" Dr. Vax tilted his head. "Your species is not part of the collective. You have no legal protections under galactic law." The casual way he said it made Minji's blood run cold. She forced herself to stop struggling and think. She was a cargo hauler, not a fighter. But she had survived pirates, equipment failures, and 3 different corporate bankruptcies. She could survive this. "What do you want from me?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "To understand you," Dr. Vax said. "Your biology is unlike anything we've encountered. Your heart stops between beats. Did you know that?" Minji stared at him. "What are you talking about?" "Everyone's heart does that." "No," Dr. Vax said softly. "Everyone's heart does not do that. In the known galaxy, you are unique." Before Minji could respond, alarms blared throughout the room. Red lights flashed, and the insect creatures scattered. "Security breach in holding cell 7. Someone shouted. Dr. Vax's antenna flattened. "That's impossible. Cell 7 is maximum security." "It's the other human," Pip said, his young voice cracking. "He's escaped." Minji's heart leaped. Another human? She wasn't alone? The door to the medical bay exploded inward. A man rushed through, moving faster than should be possible. He grabbed something off a table, a medical tool that sparked with energy, and pointed it at the nearest guard. "Nobody move," the man said in Korean. His eyes found Minji. "You okay?" "I'm tied to a table," Minji answered in the same language. "So not really." The man was older than her, maybe mid-30s, with scars on his arms and the kind of eyes that had seen combat. He moved toward her, keeping the stolen weapon trained on Dr. Vax. "Release her," he ordered. "We cannot do that," Dr. Vax said. "You are both subjects of critical research." "We're people, not subjects," the man growled. He touched a control panel, and Minji's restraints disappeared. She sat up, rubbing her wrists. "Thank you," she said. "I'm Minji." "Hyan," he replied. "We need to move, now." But before they could take 3 steps, Overseer Tal entered the room with 6 armed guards. They carried weapons that glowed with purple energy. "Freeze," Tal commanded. Hyan pushed Minji behind him. "We're leaving." "No, you're not." Tal raised one clawed hand, and a guard fired. The purple energy bulb hit Hyan in the chest. He staggered backward, his face twisting in pain. Any normal creature should have been instantly paralyzed. The weapon worked by disrupting neural timing, freezing the target's nervous system. But Hyan didn't freeze. He took 1 step forward, then another, then a third. Then he collapsed. Every alien in the room stood in shocked silence. "That's impossible," Tal said. "He should have been paralyzed instantly." Dr. Vax rushed to Hyan with a scanner. His eyes widened as he read the results. He was paralyzed, but his nervous system kept functioning in the gaps between his heartbeats. For 3 seconds, he moved while his continuous neural processes were frozen. Minji knelt beside Hyan, checking his pulse. It was there, strong and steady. "Beat. Pause. What did you do to him?" she demanded. "The weapon disrupts continuous neural function," Dr. Vax explained. "But your friend's brain operates in 2 modes, continuous and discontinuous. We only stopped one of them." Minji looked down at Hyan's unconscious face and understood. In the gaps between heartbeats, when time moved differently for human cells, their brains were still working, still thinking, still processing. They took both humans to a holding cell more secure than before. When Hyan woke up hours later, Minji was waiting. "That was stupid," she said. But thank you. Hyan sat up slowly, wincing. I've been here 6 months. Learned a few things about how they think. They see time as one continuous flow. They don't understand the pauses. The pauses? Minji touched her own chest, feeling her heartbeat. Beat, pause, beat, pause. She'd never thought about it before. Between heartbeats, Hyan explained. I was special forces before they took me. We did meditation training, controlled breathing, heart rate manipulation. I learned I could extend the pauses, make them longer. Why would you want to do that? Because in the pauses, I can think without them detecting it. Their sensors measure continuous brain activity. When I'm in the gap, I'm invisible to them. Minji's mind raced. So you can plan an escape while appearing unconscious? Exactly. Hyan leaned back against the wall. But I needed help. That's why I broke out when you arrived. 2 of us have a better chance. Over the next few days, they talked and planned. Hyan taught Minji meditation techniques, ways to slow her heart rate and extend the gaps. It felt strange at first, focusing on the silence between beats. But gradually, she began to notice it. That tiny moment of nothing. That pause where time felt different. Dr. Vax visited them regularly, asking questions, running tests. He was kinder than the others, genuinely curious rather than cruel. During one session, he asked Minji about human reaction times. You seem slow to us, he admitted. Your reflexes take longer to activate than most species. But when you're in danger, you move in ways we can't predict. Why? Minji thought about it. Adrenaline, I guess. When you're scared, everything speeds up. You think faster, move faster. But how? Dr. Vax leaned forward. What is the mechanism? Hyan spoke up from his corner. When we're afraid, our hearts beat faster. More beats per minute. Which means more gaps per minute, Minji realized. More moments where we're processing in that different time stream. Dr. Vax's antenna quivered with excitement. Yes, your adrenaline response isn't just chemical. It's temporal. You create more processing moments by increasing your heart rate. And in each of those moments, you make calculations that we can't perceive. Is that why we seem unpredictable to you? Minji asked. You don't seem unpredictable. You are unpredictable. Because you make decisions in spaces between our perception. We see you in one position, then suddenly you're in another, and we never saw the transition because it happened in your gaps. Hyan and Minji exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand themselves in a completely new way. That night, as Minji lay on the cold floor of the cell, she focused on her heartbeat. Beat, pause, beat, pause. In each pause, she thought about home, about Earth, about escaping this place and warning her people. And in those pauses, those tiny eternities between heartbeats, Minji began to plan. Time was different for humans. They had always known that, in a way. Time flies when you're having fun. Time crawls when you're bored. But this was something else. This was literal. Humans lived in the gaps between moments. And now they knew it. The arena was massive, a circular space with white floors and towering walls. Minji stood at one end, Hyan at her side, both of them dressed in simple gray uniforms. Across from them, a creature waited. Vel was his name. He was Scare, like Overseer Tal, but younger and faster. His scales gleamed like polished metal, and his movements were liquid smooth. He was the collective's combat champion, undefeated in 300 matches. This is insane, Minji whispered to Hyan. He's going to kill us. Maybe, Hyan said calmly. Or maybe we'll surprise him. Above them, in protected viewing boxes, dozens of alien scientists and military officers watched. Dr. Vax sat in the front row, his antenna drooping with concern. Overseer Tal stood beside him, eager and hungry. This test will determine the human combat viability, Tal announced through the speakers. If the specimens survive 5 minutes against Vel, they will be granted limited freedom aboard the station. If they fail, they will be returned to maximum containment. If we die, Minji called up, then we will know humans are not suitable for military integration, Tal said flatly. Begin. Vel moved before the word finished echoing. He crossed half the arena in a blur, his claws extended. Minji barely had time to dive sideways. She felt the air split where her head had been a moment before Hyan attacked from the side, trying to distract Vel, but the scare warrior was already turning, his tail whipping around to catch Hyan in the ribs. Hyan flew backward and hit the wall hard. Your reactions are too slow, Vel said, his voice emotionless. You cannot win. Minji helped Hyan to his feet. Her heart was pounding now, adrenaline flooding her system. Beat, 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 faster and faster. And with each beat, each pause between beats, her mind worked. Stop trying to be faster than him, Hyan gasped. Be unpredictable? Minji understood. Vel fought with perfect technique, every movement flowing into the next. His brain processed combat in one continuous stream, predicting his opponent's next move based on their current trajectory. What if their next move didn't flow from their current trajectory? Minji ran at Vel, then stopped completely. Just froze mid-stride. Vel's claw swept through empty air where she should have been. In the gap between her heartbeats, Minji changed direction. She didn't flow into a dodge. She simply appeared in a new position. Vel's eyes widened in confusion. Hyan attacked from behind, but instead of following through with his punch, he stopped it halfway and kicked instead. The change happened in the pause, the gap where Hyan's heart was still and his brain processed in that different time stream. Vel blocked the kick, but barely. His perfect predictive algorithms were failing. What are they doing? Someone shouted from the viewing boxes. Dr. Vax leaned forward, his scanner active. They're not moving continuously. They're moving in discrete moments. Watch their heart rates. Every time their hearts beat faster, they create more decision points. More gaps where they can completely change their strategy. That's impossible to defend against, another scientist said. Exactly, Dr. Vax whispered in the arena. Minji and Hyan had found their rhythm. They didn't try to outspeed Vel. They stuttered and paused, moving in broken patterns that made no sense to continuous perception. To Vel, it looked like they were teleporting short distances, appearing and disappearing between his perception frames. Vel was faster. Vel was stronger. But Vel couldn't predict them. 2 minutes into the fight, Vel made a mistake. He lunged at where Minji should have been, based on her previous movement. But in the gap between heartbeats, she had changed direction completely. Vel's momentum carried him past her, and Hyan was there, landing a solid hit to the back of Vel's head. The scare warrior stumbled. The crowd above erupted in shock chatter. 5 minutes, the automated voice announced. Combat test complete. Humans have survived. Vel straightened up slowly, rubbing his head. He looked at Minji and Hyan with something that might have been respect. You fight like broken machines, he said. No flow, no rhythm, but effective. We're not machines at all, Minji said, breathing hard. That's the point. In the viewing box, a woman stood up. She was human, wearing the gray uniform of a collective scientist. Her name was Ji-Wan, and tears were streaming down her face. Dr. Vax noticed her reaction. Are you unwell? Ji-Wan shook her head, unable to speak. She had been taken as a child, raised among the aliens, educated in their schools. She had always felt different, out of sync, like something was wrong with her. The alien children learned in smooth, continuous progress. But Ji-Wan learned in jumps and leaps, making connections that seemed to come from nowhere. Her teachers had called it intuition. They had praised her for it while also being slightly disturbed by it. Now, watching Minji and Hyan fight in those stuttering, broken patterns, Ji-won understood. She wasn't broken. She was human. Her brain worked in the gaps, making non-linear connections that continuous thinkers couldn't follow. She had spent 20 years thinking she was defective, but she was just living in moments her alien friends couldn't perceive. After the fight, Ji-won requested permission to meet the human specimens. Tal granted it, curious about how the humans would interact with one of their own who had been raised alien. Ji-won entered their holding cell, and for a long moment, nobody spoke. Minji and Hyan stared at her, surprised to see another human face. "You're one of us," Minji finally said. "I was," Ji-won replied in Korean. Though her accent was strange, influenced by years of speaking alien languages. "They took me when I was 7. I barely remember Earth. Do you work for them?" Hyan asked, his voice neutral but wary. "I work with them," Ji-won said. "I'm a xenophysicist. I study how different species perceive reality." She sat down on the floor across from them. "I never understood why I thought differently than my colleagues. Why my theories seemed to come from nowhere. They called it genius. I thought I was just strange." "You're not strange," Minji said gently. "You're human. We all think like that." Ji-won closed her eyes, and more tears came. "I watched you fight today. The way you moved, the way you changed direction without warning. I understood something I've been doing my whole life without realizing it." "What?" Hyan leaned forward. "My best ideas don't come from continuous thought. They come in flashes and moments between heartbeats. I'll be working on a problem, and suddenly the answer is just there. My alien colleagues have to think through every step. But I skip steps. I jump from question to answer in the gaps." Dr. Vax appeared in the doorway. "What you're describing is what we call nonlinear cognition. We've observed it in human Ji-won for years. We assumed it was individual variation. But now we understand it's a species trait. Why does it happen?" Minji asked. "We don't fully know," Dr. Vax admitted. "But our current theory is that in the temporal gaps between heartbeats, your neurons can form connections without following normal causality. You can link ideas that have no logical connection, because you're making those links in moments where our physics don't apply the same way. So human creativity, human intuition, all of it comes from living between moments?" Ji-won asked. "It appears so," Dr. Vax said. "You are a species that exists partially outside of continuous time. And that makes you capable of thoughts and actions that continuous beings cannot achieve." Hyan laughed bitterly. "No wonder Tal wants to weaponize us." The room fell quiet. "There's something you should know," Ji-won said softly. "Tal is planning to invade Earth. He wants to conscript your entire species as soldiers." Minji felt ice in her stomach. "How many of us are there?" "Nearly 8 billion, Ji-won said. "And if Tal gets his way, every one of them will become property of the collective military." "We have to stop him," Hyan said immediately. "How?" Minji demanded. "We're prisoners here." Ji-won looked between them, then at Dr. Vax. "Not all of the collective agrees with Tal. Some of us think humans should be partners, not weapons. But we need proof. We need to show the Council that humanity has value beyond combat." "I may have an idea," Dr. Vax said slowly, "but it will require trusting me. And I'm not sure you should." Minji thought about it. She didn't trust Dr. Vax, not really. But she didn't have many options. "Tell us your idea," she said, and in the silence that followed, between heartbeats, 4 very different beings began to plan a revolution. The council chamber was the largest room on the station, a vast circular space where representatives from 100 species gathered to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. Today, they had gathered to decide the fate of humanity. Overseer Tal stood at the center podium, his scaled body radiating confidence. Behind him, holographic displays showed footage of Minji and Hyan fighting Vel, their movements stuttering and broken but effective. "The evidence is clear," Tal announced. "Humans are the perfect weapon. Their temporal displacement allows them to act in moments we cannot perceive. A human soldier could assassinate a target before security systems register movement. Human pilots could outmaneuver any defense. Human saboteurs could infiltrate any facility." Murmurs rippled through the council. Some of agreement, some of concern. "You propose invasion?" asked Counselor Reth, a floating being of pure energy. "I propose integration," Tal said smoothly. "We offer Earth protection and technology in exchange for military service. If they refuse, we take what we need by force. Either way, the collective gains an army unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen." Dr. Vax stood from his seat. "I object. We cannot enslave an entire species." "I'm not suggesting slavery," Tal said. "I'm suggesting conscription. Many species serve the collective military. Humans would simply be the newest recruits." "Forced recruits," Dr. Vax corrected. "Taken from their home without choice." "They can choose," Tal replied. "Serve or be left defenseless against hostile species." "The galaxy is dangerous, Dr. Vax. We would be offering protection." Before Dr. Vax could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber. "May I speak?" Everyone turned. A human stood at the entrance, but not one of the specimens. This human was older, maybe in his 40s, with graying hair and calm eyes. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. "Who are you?" Tal demanded. "My name is Dae-Yoon," the human said in perfect galactic common. "I've been a prisoner on this station for 1 year. I've been silent until now because I was observing, learning, and calculating." Guards moved toward him, but Counselor Reth held up a tendril. "Let him speak." Daham walked to the center of the chamber, unbothered by the hundreds of alien eyes watching him. "Overseer Tao is correct about one thing. Humans can operate in temporal gaps that you cannot perceive. But he's wrong about what that means." "And what does it mean?" asked another counselor. "It means we can offer you something far more valuable than soldiers." Dayam pulled a small device from his pocket. "I built this from spare parts in my cell. It took me 11 months, working only in the gaps between my heartbeats so your sensors wouldn't detect my activity." He activated the device. A hologram appeared above it, showing complex mathematical equations. "This is a temporal displacement engine," Dahyun explained. "It can convert the energy from human heartbeat gaps into continuous power. One human could generate enough energy to power a small spacecraft. 1,000 humans could power a station like this one. 1 billion humans could revolutionize your energy infrastructure." The council erupted in shocked conversation. "That's impossible," Tal snarled. "Our scientists have studied temporal mechanics for millennia. If such a device were possible, we would have built it." "You couldn't build it," Dayan said calmly, "because you don't experience time the way we do. This device only works because I understand the gaps from the inside. I live in them." Dr. Vax was already scanning the device with his instruments. His antenna quivered with excitement. "The mathematics are sound. The engineering is crude, but functional. This is real." Ji-Wan entered the chamber, flanked by Minji and Hyun. "The question isn't whether humans can be useful," she said. "The question is whether the collective will choose partnership or slavery." Tal pointed at her. "You were raised among us, human Ji-Wan. Where does your loyalty lie?" "With truth," Ji-Wan said. "I'm a scientist. And the truth is that forcing humanity to serve will destroy everything this device represents. Temporal displacement technology requires willing cooperation. It can't be forced. She's correct, Daehyun added. The gaps only generate convertible energy when the human is relaxed and cooperative. Under stress or coercion, the gaps collapse. You can have human soldiers or human partners. You cannot have both. Tal's scales darkened with anger. This is a trick, a delaying tactic. Then test it. Minji stepped forward. I volunteer. Hook me up to whatever sensors you want. I'll generate power using Daehyun's device while your scientists verify everything. The council agreed. Within an hour, Minji was connected to a web of sensors in the main laboratory. Daehyun's device was attached to her chest, monitoring her heartbeat. Relax, Daehyun told her softly. Think about something peaceful. Home, family, anything that makes you feel safe. Minji closed her eyes and thought about her small apartment on Earth, her cat, her favorite coffee shop. Her heart rate slowed, and the gaps between beats stretched longer. The device began to glow. Energy readings spiked across every monitor. The scientists watching erupted in excited chatter. The device was generating power, clean and sustainable, pulled from the temporal gaps in Minji's heartbeat. Increase the load, Dr. Vax ordered. They connected the device to more equipment, drawing more power. Minji's face remained peaceful. The gaps lengthened even more, and the power output increased to match. Incredible, breathed one of the scientists. She's generating enough energy to power this entire lab. But then Tal entered the room. His presence was like ice water. Minji's eyes opened. Her heart rate spiked with fear, and the gap shortened dramatically. The power output dropped to almost nothing. Fascinating, Dr. Vax said. Looking at Tal, your arrival increased her stress response, which shortened her temporal gaps and collapsed the energy generation. The device only works when the human feels safe. Tal scowled but said nothing. The test continued for hours. They brought in Hyeon Jiwon and even Daehyun. Each human generated substantial power when relaxed, and each one's output dropped when stressed or threatened. The council reconvened as sunset painted, the station's windows gold. We have seen the evidence, Councillor Reth announced. The question before us is clear. Do we approach humanity as conquerors or as partners? Partners, Dr. Vax said immediately. We have everything to gain from cooperation and everything to lose from coercion. We need soldiers, Tal argued. The collective has enemies. Human temporal abilities would save countless lives in combat. Then recruit them willingly, Jiwon said. Offer them choice. Some humans will want to be soldiers. Others will want to be engineers, scientists, artists. Let them choose, and you'll get far more value than any conscription could provide. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Councillor Reth called for a vote. In the middle of the voting, alarms blared. Medical emergency in the council chamber. Everyone turned. Minji had collapsed, a purple scorch mark on her chest. Tal stood behind her, a weapon in his hand. She tried to attack me. Tal lied smoothly. I defended myself. But the security footage told a different story. Tal had shot her in cold blood while she stood peacefully watching the vote. Hyeon rushed to Minji's side, checking her pulse. It was there, but fading. Slow. Too slow. She's dying, Hyeon said, his voice breaking. Dr. Vax ordered emergency medical teams, but they were minutes away. Minji's heart was beating slower and slower. Beat. Long pause. Beat. Longer pause, and in those lengthening gaps, something extraordinary happened. Minji's consciousness expanded. She could feel time stretching around her, the gaps between heartbeats lasting subjectively longer and longer. What should have been microseconds felt like minutes. Then hours. In that stretched time, Minji's life played before her. Not like a movie, but like a vast landscape she could explore. Every memory, every choice, Every moment of joy and sorrow laid out in the eternal present of her dying gaps. She understood, finally, what it meant to be human. To live in the spaces between moments. To die slowly enough to say goodbye. Her heart beat one more time. Then the gap stretched so long it seemed to last forever. And in that forever, Minji saw her place in the cosmos. She saw the future where humans and aliens worked together, building wonders in the gaps. Between heartbeats, she saw it was worth dying for, but she didn't die. The medical team arrived with Daehan's temporal device modified into a defibrillator. They used the energy from their own heartbeat gaps to restart hers. Minji gasped back to life, her heart resuming its familiar rhythm. Beat, pause, and the entire council understood what they had almost lost. Minji woke up in a medical bay, but this one was different. Softer lights, more comfortable bed. No restraints. Hyan sat beside her, his eyes red from crying. When he saw her awake, he grabbed her hand. "You scared me," he said simply. "I scared myself," Minji admitted. Her chest ached where Tao's weapon had struck her. "What happened?" "You almost died. But Dane saved you." He modified his temporal device into a medical tool. "Use the energy from our heartbeat gaps to restart yours." Minji touched her chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath her fingers. Beat, pause, beat, pause. The familiar pattern felt different now. Sacred. Tao. She asked. "Arrested," Hyan said. "Attempted murder of a diplomatic guest." The council saw everything on security footage. "He's been stripped of command." Dr. Vax entered the room, his antenna drooping with relief when he saw Minji awake. "How do you feel?" "Like I got shot," Minji said. "But alive." "You were dead for 47 seconds, Dr. Vax said quietly. "Your heart stopped completely. But your brain remained active far longer than should have been possible. You were still conscious for nearly a minute after cardiac arrest." Minji remembered that stretched time, those endless gaps where she had seen her entire life laid out before her. "It felt like hours," she said. "I believe it did," Dr. Vax replied. "For you, subjectively, you may have experienced days or weeks in those gaps. Your consciousness exists partially outside normal time. Even death cannot interrupt it immediately." The door opened again, and Counselor Reth floated in, their energy form pulsing with soft light. "Minji of Earth, the Council has reached a decision." Minji sat up straighter, wincing at the pain. "What decision?" "We will not invade your planet," Reth said. "Instead, we extend an invitation. The Galactic Collective would like to establish peaceful diplomatic relations with humanity. We offer technology, knowledge, and partnership. In return, we ask for what you can offer willingly." "And if we refuse?" Minji asked. "Then we leave you alone," Reth said simply. "We have learned today that forcing cooperation with humans is counterproductive. You must choose freely, or the partnership has no value." Minji looked at Hyan, then at Dr. Vax. "I can't speak for all of Earth. I'm just a cargo hauler." "You are the first human ambassador," Reth corrected. "Whether you choose that title or not. What happened here today will determine how humanity enters the galactic stage. We need someone to carry our message to Earth, someone who understands both sides." Minji thought about it. 3 weeks ago, she had been hauling cargo containers around Jupiter, worried about missing payments and broken equipment. Now she was being asked to speak for her entire species. "I'll need help," she said finally. "I'll need Hyan, Jiwan, and Daeun. And I'll need time to learn about the collective before I can explain it to Earth." "Granted," Reth said. "Take all the time you need." Over the next 3 months, Minji learned. She studied galactic history, alien cultures, and the technology that made interstellar civilization possible. Jiwan became her teacher and friend, sharing everything she had learned in 20 years among the stars. Daeyun worked with collective scientists to refine his temporal device. They discovered applications beyond energy generation, medical tools that worked in heartbeat gaps, communication systems that could send messages through temporal displacement, manufacturing techniques that used human perception to create materials impossible with continuous time processes. Hyan trained with Vel, learning combat techniques and teaching his own. The two warriors developed a mutual respect, finding that their different approaches to fighting complemented each other. And Dr. Vax documented everything, writing papers that would revolutionize xenobiology across the galaxy. Finally, the day came for first contact with Earth. The collective sent a diplomatic ship to Earth orbit, broadcasting friendly intentions in every human language. The people of Earth watched in wonder and fear as the vessel appeared in their skies. Minji stood before a camera that would broadcast her message to all of Earth. Behind her, Hyan, Jiwan, and Daeyun waited in support. Dr. Vax and several other alien representatives stood to the side. People of Earth, Minji began in Korean, knowing the message would be translated into every language. My name is Minji. 3 months ago, I was taken from my ship by aliens who wanted to study us. I was terrified, angry, but what I learned changed everything. She paused, gathering her thoughts. We are different from every other species in the galaxy. Our hearts don't beat continuously. They pause between beats. And in those pauses, we experience time differently. We process information, make decisions, and exist in moments that others can't perceive. On Earth, billions of people stopped what they were doing to listen. The Galactic Collective wants to partner with us, Minji continued. Not because they need soldiers, though some of us might choose that path, but because our unique way of experiencing time offers value to everyone. We can build things they can't build, think thoughts they can't think, see solutions they can't see. She stepped aside, and Dr. Vax moved forward. I am Dr. Vax of the Krell species. For 3 months, I have studied humanity. What I have learned has changed my understanding of life itself. You are not primitive. You are not weak. You are extraordinary. And the galaxy is better for having found you. The broadcast continued for an hour, with each of the humans sharing their experiences. Daeyun demonstrated his temporal device. Jiwan explained the science. Hyan spoke about the importance of choice and dignity. When it ended, they could only wait for Earth's response. It came 3 days later. Not one response, but thousands. Governments, organizations, individuals, all with different reactions. Some wanted to join the collective immediately. Others wanted nothing to do with aliens. Most were cautious but curious. The United Nations formed a special committee to negotiate with the collective. Minji became humanity's primary liaison, with Hyan, Jiwan, and Daeyun as advisors. The negotiations took months. But slowly, carefully, humanity and the collective built a framework for cooperation. 5 years later, Minji stood on the bridge of her own ship, the Between Moments. Hyan served as her first officer. The crew was mixed, humans and aliens working together. They had just completed a supply run to a colony on the edge of collective space. The mission had been routine, but Minji never took routine for granted. Every day among the stars was a gift. Captain, Hyan said, we're receiving a message from the Temporal Research Institute. Dr. Jiwan wants to speak with you. Jiwan's face appeared on the screen, beaming with excitement. Minji, we did it. The new temporal medical scanner is working perfectly. We can now detect diseases in the heartbeat gaps, catching them weeks or months before they would show symptoms in continuous time. This will save millions of lives. That's wonderful, Minji said, genuinely happy. How's Daeyun? Still the most famous physicist in the galaxy, Jiwan laughed. He's giving lectures at the academy tomorrow. Something about temporal quantum mechanics. Half of it goes over my head, but the students love him. After the call ended, Minji walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent walls, she could see Earth in the distance. Blue and beautiful, and home. Hyan joined her. Thinking about the old days? Thinking about heartbeats, Minji said. How something we never thought about turned out to be the most important thing about us. Makes you wonder what else we don't know about ourselves, Hyan mused. Minji placed her hand over her heart, feeling the rhythm. Beat, pause, beat, pause. In those pauses, she thought about everything that had changed. Earth was now part of a galactic community. Humans served in every field imaginable, from medicine to art to exploration. They weren't special because they were superior. They were special because they were different. And in those differences, they had found connection. Down on Earth, in a small school, a human teacher stood before a class of mixed species. Human children sat beside Krell younglings, scare hatchlings, and energy beings from Reth species. Today, the teacher said, we're going to talk about time. For most of you, time flows continuously. But for us humans, time has gaps. Little pauses. And that's okay. That's beautiful. Because in those pauses, we find moments that belong only to us. A Krell youngling raised a claw. Do the pauses hurt? A human child laughed. No. They're like tiny breaks where you can think. It's nice. I wish I had pauses, a scare hatchling said wistfully. You have your own special things, the human child replied. You can see colors I can't see. That's cool too. The teacher smiled. This was the future. Not humans dominating the galaxy, but humans being part of it. Contributing their unique gifts while learning from others. In medical bays across the collective, human doctors used temporal displacement to heal patients in ways that seemed miraculous. In research stations, human scientists made discoveries in the gaps between moments. In ships traveling faster than light, human engineers maintained systems using their unique perception. And in quiet moments, when humans lay down to sleep, they felt their heartbeats. Beat, pause, beat, pause. The rhythm that made them who they were. Minji stood on her ship's bridge, looking out at the stars, and felt her heart beating in her chest. In the gaps between those beats, she thought about the day the aliens had counted her heartbeats and wondered why. Time stopped between them. They had counted them looking for weakness. They had found wonder instead.